Hey everyone, this is Mike from FPS Tactical. Have you ever got a spring assisted knife only to go to deploy it or flip it out and discover that it won't lock or won't deploy fully and that it's totally different than an automatic switchblade, which they're advertised to replace? Um, this happens quite often, and the reason for it most of the time is because the pivot screw has been misadjusted. Usually it's just too tight from the factory. When this happens, what this causes is the knife blade to not swing out. The spring can't overcome the tension of the pivot screw, and it becomes more like a non-assisted folding knife that you have to manually flick your wrist or fold out by hand to actually get it to lock. A lot of times, we could see returns on these knives because they don't flip out as quickly as what they should. So today, I want to show you guys, anybody out there, how to adjust these knives, how to adjust the pivot screw, how to actually align the blade so that the liner lock locks fully and safely. So without further ado, let me go ahead and jump right in and show you guys how to fix this problem. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is get yourself a set of Torx bit sockets. So what we have here is two T9 Torx bits. These are the size that I have found to fit most of the spring-assisted knives. Every once in a while, you're going to encounter one that has a smaller size. For the most part, however, let's see if you guys can see that. Everybody probably knows what a Torx bit is, but for the most part, the T9 is what's going to fit these knives. Okay, so for instance, as I said in the intro to this video, here's a spring-assisted knife that came from the factory. Looks nice, looks great, kind of looks like a switchblade even. I go to flip it open. As you can see, I have the flipper right there, and you can see that it just kind of gets stuck. Let me do this again. It's not really opening at all. All right, so what I want to do here is this is the pivot screw. You can see that if you look inside here closely, let's see if I can focus in on the blade here, that kind of goes right through here, tightens the blade in, and this is what's causing all the tension there. And nothing actually wrong with it. Spring's fine. It's just that it's been tightened too much from the factory. And ironically, sometimes they're tightened too loosely from the factory, in which case you have a lot of blade play where the blade's shaking back and forth a lot. Which I could show you here. As you can see in this one, I mean, there's zero play in this blade, just from the factory. This thing isn't moving at all. All right, so pivot screw, Torx bit. Here's my little screwdriver set. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and turn it, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we're gonna loosen it. I always start with the front side of the knife. Usually spring assisted knives come with a pocket clip so you can easily identify at least what I consider to be the backside. And I'm going to turn this thing counterclockwise to loosen it up a little. Let's see if I make sure you guys can see this. Right, I can actually feel the backside of the blade or backside of the pivot screw also turning, which is something you have to be careful of. And that's why I also say you want double tools, because you can hold one side while turning the other. So now that I've loosened it, you saw how it was before. Oh look, that knife flips right out real easily, just like it should. So let me do it again, as you can tell. So still feels a little weak, right? A little bit, but it's definitely popping out a lot better than it used to. I mean, it used to not even flip out at all. All right, so let me loosen this thing a little bit more. All right, let's see what it comes up now. Oh yeah, now that thing's working pretty good. So let me do it again there. Yeah, this thing's popping out really nice now. So, but now we have another problem. As you can see, look at that blade wobble, which is not necessarily a good thing. Everybody wants their stuff to be nice and tight. So what happened here was it's loose, but maybe it's a little bit too loose. And so what I want to try and do is tighten them exactly to the point that have little blade play, maybe just a tiny little bit. You want the blade to be stable, but also where it springs out. And then you also want to be careful of the liner lock on the inside. I kind of hinted at this earlier in the video. So if you look at, let's see if I can get this to focus a little better. Right there, if you look at that liner lock, you can see it's kind of tilted over to the side. if I adjust both screws at the same time, you can actually get that liner lock to line up more towards the middle. You can get the blade a little bit tighter, and that makes everything a lot a lot more safe, if you ask me. Especially if you're going to use these knives on everyday carry, you're going to be using things. Last thing you want is for the knife to slip on the side of the liner lock and the thing close on your hand. So all right, so let's adjust both of these screws now and see if I can get this more aligned to the middle. All right, here we go. I line this up a little better now. You can see the how the liner locks off to the side. I think I got a pretty clear view on my camera here. Um, so now I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to try and center as much as possible the liner lock also while tightening the blade. Again, you can see this thing is shaking back and forth pretty good. Springs out great though. All right. So in this case, I'm going to use both sides of the knife here, or both sides of the screws rather. So you can see now I have on the back side, what I'm going to try to do is actually, I'm going to loosen this back side back up even more. As you can see, I'm holding this front side, loosening the back side. And now I'm going to tighten the blade up back from the initial front pivot screw while holding the back side. And I can actually feel the blade moving a little bit. All right, so let's see where we're at now that I did that. Okay, now this thing's pretty good. As you can see, look right in there. Let's see if I can get this to focus better. How that liner lock is right in the center. That's pretty good. I mean, that's what we're aiming to do here. For safety reasons, it's really safe. You don't want one of these knives closing on your hand, regardless of what you're cutting. It could, I mean, imagine cutting a box or whatever you do in your day-to-day activities, and this thing just closes. It could be really disastrous. So it's very important to get that lined up in the middle. Again, to do that, sometimes you have to use both screws, right? Like I showed you a minute ago. Let me line that up. Hopefully you guys can see the liner lock right in the center there, exactly where you want it. Thing still springs out, right? Springs out great. And that is a pretty good adjusted knife. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Blade play wise, because I adjusted the back screw, I mean, you can see now, you can see that thing barely even moving as I try and move it. So it's pretty good. It's about as tight as I can get it. Now, what I'm going to do is try and tighten it a little bit more just to get it, perfectly as tight as I can get it. To do that, I'm actually going to use both screws again because I don't want the blade to tilt one way or the other, which is what happens if you tighten this side of the blade. Obviously, you can see it's going to pull the blade towards it, and it can actually skew the angle of the blade, which can mess up the actual liner lock alignment. All right. So let's try this again here. Just a little tiny bit of a tweak. Should be all that we need. Okay. I'm going to open this slowly because I want to feel the blade play. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now that's about as good as you're going to get on a spring assisted knife. This one's pretty tight. That wobble there is just because of the washers and the just the normal mechanisms, but the blade definitely isn't slinging around like crazy anymore. That's pretty good. When I flip it out, it flips out perfect. We do it one more time here, and you can see that the liner lock is perfectly aligned, and that's how you want it to be for safety reasons. Thanks you guys for watching this video. I'll be posting more videos up on knife maintenance, uses, and just general care of tactical equipment, etc. Thanks again for watching. My name is Mike, and this is FPS Tactical. Thanks. Bye.